Welcome back. I got a new mic, so hopefully I sound a little bit better, and hopefully I'm less boring. Anyways, let's keep going with basic economic concepts, and I don't have a whole lot left, but we'll kind of wrap out this first section of the chapter and talk about just some basic economic concepts. Goods and services, factors of production, scarcity, and supply and demand theory. So, goods and services, what's the difference? I think we know this. Your good is anything you can physically, tangibly touch. And then a services are those intangible things. Goods are your clothing, your shoes, your backpacks, all of that. Those are all goods. Services would be you're getting your car washed, a haircut, the spa. All those things are services provided. There's 4 factors of production. They are land, labor, entrepreneurship, and capital. And land is the material and goods we use to make a product. Labor is that physical doing that we have to do. Entrepreneurship is the leader or the manager of the organization. And capital is the dollars and cents. Dollars, and not only dollars, but any machinery, buildings we use. Scarcity, I'm going to leave off for a second. We'll talk about that later. And then let's talk about supply and demand theory. So, if an item is heavy in demand, in short in supply, price will go up. And then if something is heavy in supply but short in demand, price will go down. Supply and demand are 2 different concepts that work together, but they also work independently. And they can create surpluses, shortages, and equilibrium. So, something to always remember, your supply curve is always going to point out and up usually. And your demand curve is usually always going to apply, always going to be going down. Sorry. So don't get too bogged down in these price movements because they're showing you changes in quantity or changes in price. Don't worry about that just now. Just know that you can have changes in supply, and as you move along that supply line, you're going to change price, and the same thing goes with demand. So, elastic and inelastic demand is this theory that some products change, or the price changes. As the price changes, demand changes. Sorry, that was a mouthful. And I'm going to start with inelastic demand first. Situation in which a change in price has little or no effect on the demand for a product. So what does that mean? That means every day my job is to wake up and go to school and be here to teach. No matter what the price of gas is, I still have to get there. Now, we could argue that if gasoline got to $20 a gallon, I might figure out a different way to get to school. But realistically, I'm going to wake up and I'm going to drive to school if gasoline goes to $5 or $6 a gallon. I might start thinking about changing away from my wonderful V8 truck with 350 horsepower into something that has better gas mileage or better fuel mileage, but I'm still going to come to work. And gasoline is thought to be fairly inelastic. Now, if we go back and we look at elastic demand, I bet there's a lot of people out here with Air Force Ones, and if your Air Force Ones cost $500 or $600, would you then start thinking about buying a different shoe? Probably. That change in price will likely create a change in demand. However, what if they went down to $25? You might consider owning 3 or 4 pairs of those shoes. So, diminishing marginal utility says that price alone is not the only factor in determining demand. We have things like taste. Some of us have taste, at least. Some people don't. And income, and how much of the product we already own. And for example, I'm not going to buy Sperry's this year because I have like 6 pairs. So at some point, we have enough of the product and we honestly don't need any more. Some of you have 10 pairs of jeans or 24 pairs of jeans, and maybe you don't need any more jeans. Well, that plays in to whether or not you're going to buy another pair, no matter what the price is. All right. So, the government publishes statistics that help us understand the economy and predict possible changes. One of those is gross domestic product. That is the total value of goods and services produced by people within the country during a given period of time. It is measured traditionally 4 times a year, and after which it is revised regularly. GDP is a great example of where the country is going, or where the country has just gone from a quarterly standpoint. And I won't say what just happened to GDP, because we'll talk about this after this lecture. But know that gross domestic product, everything that everyone has made in the country, rolled up into $1 figure. And we like to see it always growing, because there's always more people and we're always becoming more productive and more innovative. But that doesn't always happen. So, United States has around a $16 trillion GDP. And I think when we're done with this, I will pull up, or I should say this, Mr. Barron, pull up the ranking of GDP dollars by state is a good way to look at it. Because I believe the state of California alone is the 15th largest country, or is its own largest country for GDP in the world. So what this is comparing the GDP of various states to other countries. And so you can see the state of California alone, one of our 50 states, has the same production dollars as the entire country of the United Kingdom. And that's what kind of makes our country very interesting. We have the little state of Rhode Island over here has the same gross domestic product as Uruguay. And so have a look at this real quick. It's just interesting to compare. Some of these countries are significantly larger than the United States, or than the state they represent. For example, Canada is a lot bigger than Texas. Although Israel is significantly smaller than Minnesota. So 4 stages of the business cycle: growth, recession, depression, and recovery. And the business cycle is a general pattern of expansion and contraction that the economy goes through. And it looks like this. And one thing I will tell you is a lot of this is driven by what's called the credit cycle. And that is how businesses give credit, and then their credit goes through an expansion, and then a peak, and then it tails off, and credit contracts and creates a recession. And we can talk about this a little more. It's not too critical, but it is something interesting to understand and know about. So this is the business cycle. You've probably seen this before in another business class. If not, make sure you get it down, because I love to ask questions about this. All right. I think we are. This is the last side. So you're like, well, what does all of this matter? How does all of this tie into being an entrepreneur and the name of this class? Well, one, it's important to understand the economy so you can do and be an entrepreneur and understand what's going on around you. But entrepreneurs contribute because they provide jobs. They are the innovative force that promotes change in society. They create wants and not only needs, right? Most of our needs are satisfied, but they create wants. They turn some type of demand into a supply by solving a problem. And a lot of times they provide venture capital, provide dollars for people to have and use. So entrepreneurs are critical, and there are amazing entrepreneurs out there. And we'll start talking about those in the next couple weeks. So let's stop here and say congrats for making it through 1-1.